Was there a movie? I mean,
Oh
I
yeah,
missed the last
let's
couple.
talk about the movie, Menno's Mind.
Menno's Mind.
I'll pull up the synopsis real quick. Not much to it, but there's a really interesting side note. Unfortunately, only got 9% on Rotten Tomatoes. They were much more generous on IMDb, and they give it a 4.4 out of 10. Let's see. Menno is a computer programmer at the resort, an enormous fun house where people can live out their fantasies in virtual reality. Feeding their personal data into a software program called The System, head of security Felix Medina is setting up a big voting fraud in order to win the presidential elections. His only concern is a group of terrorists rebelling against his plans. As an ex-colleague of their leader, Menno is forced to help them. And it's spelled M-E-N-N-O. It was made in 1997. It was actually made for Showtime. I didn't know at the time. I saw it on Wikipedia.
I found some of it interesting in how they were going about rigging the election.
So, go ahead.
Using some kind of subliminal messaging or messaging inside of their resort.
Pleasure Palace.
Yeah.
So it's basically, I guess, the near future. And so everybody likes to go to this resort, which is a place where you can live out your fantasies in not even virtual reality, like it really plugs into your brain, right? Isn't that the concept? Like,
yeah,
you see what's fed to you through your brain computer interface, or I don't know how to they're not really jacking you in, but
the movie starts with a guy who gets he gets shot by a firing squad, had a lethal injection, and electrocuted, but through that little virtual jack thing.
And then he got his head chopped off and died.
Oh, that's right, the guillotine.
Yeah, so he was. So it starts off with the leader of, or not a leader, but supposedly a participant in the resistance against the government, and he proclaims his innocence, which we later learned that he was probably telling the truth and everything's crooked. But so that the way they execute people is virtually, but it actually does kill them. Like, did he just have a heart attack or something?
Something. They didn't really explain that part real well.
Yeah, it had to have been a heart attack.
So he sees like the firing squad. He sees himself being electrocuted. And at the end, he sees his head getting cut off. He sees him going up to the guillotine. And I thought they were going to do like, do you remember on Star Trek, what is Deep Space Nine, when the Irish guy was captured by the aliens and they imprisoned him for 20 years, but it was just a mental simulation.
Ended up a lot longer than that, and they didn't let him loose until he killed his cellmate. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like that, like a virtualized prison sentence, but it just takes place in your mind, and it only flashes by a few seconds. But no, they actually do kill them using this technology that's also available at the resort. And
then they punish one guy.
Yeah, what did they do?
They had his like dream girl there, his wife there, and that was the gratuitous nudity in this TV 14 film.
Yeah.
And they had it switch to his mother. Like midway through, and his mother like kicked him in the balls.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Yeah.
So there's the plot is basically there's a bad guy who's running for office, and he wants to slip in a kind of like subliminal messaging into the resort for everybody to vote for him, and it's it's kind of like just an espionage thriller, political thriller, but it's got a lot of interesting technology in it.
And that was the guy that played Syke's dad.
Yeah, so this is the part I really wanted to get to, was the cast, because it's basically
Worf,
Rocketeer.
Rocketeer.
You've got, first off, you've got Bruce Campbell, who's kind of the leader of the resistance. He plays this guy Mick Doroff. Billy Campbell, I don't really know about it. He's Menno.
Played the Rocketeer.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't recognize him.
It took me a while to figure out where I remembered him from because he just seemed so familiar. But yeah, he's the guy that played the Rocketeer.
So Corbin Burnson, who is like one of the major character actors still living today, that's always played the bad guy and everything. He's been in a million things. If you see him, you'll recognize him. Robert Picardo, who was in Star Trek Voyager as the Doctor. There's a lot of Star Trek connections here. Michael Dorn, who played Worf in Next Generation, also was in Deep Space Nine, playing Worf. There's Robert Vaughn, who's not in Star Trek, but he's been in a lot of stuff too. There's also, I don't know if you remember this guy, he was the old man that came in and wanted to see his wife once again, who died.
Not his wife, the girl he fell in love with that he couldn't chase.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
His name is Bill Irwin. He's been in a ton of westerns, but he was also in Next Generation as an old mentor of Crusher, and so he was in this. I think that's all the Star Trek connections I found, but all the other actors have been in all kinds of sci-fi movies in the 90s and stuff. And so the most interesting part of the movie, I think, was just spotting all the character actors from different sci-fi series and movies and things like that. To me, I mean, it was okay. I didn't hate it, but
the cast was there, but it was just not much of a movie.
Yeah, it was kind of by the numbers too, you know.
Right.
But it did have a lot of interesting technology in it, mainly the brain-computer interface stuff. And
the big thing was Bruce Campbell's character was dying because they tried to arrest him. Yeah, he got shot. And then he broke into the building where they were doing this resort and then basically downloaded his brain onto a disk. And then they forced the Rocketeer, Menno, to upload his brain into his, or the other guy's
Bruce Campbell's brain into his brain, yeah.
And it didn't work quite the way you would expect, but he was getting all the memories from the guy, so...
Yeah, like the guy's... Bruce Campbell's partner as part of the resistance was this woman that he was in love with, and she recognized that was Bruce Campbell's memories and things like that. So the problem I have with this kind of technology is that I have seen it in a lot of movies, not just this mind computer interface stuff, but I think, like, if you look at history, like when arcades were huge, and then here comes the console and kind of wiped out the arcade industry, except for like retro video games that are coming back now and bars that are arcades. But as far as what the arcade industry used to be, it's nothing like it was. I'm sure there's other examples of technology once it enters the home, kind of wiping out these centers of technology. You know, I'm sure streaming really hit hard, movie theaters and things like that. When it was first introduced as, you know, home video in general.
Video store.
Yeah, killed off the video store. So in this movie they have what is it called? The resort, which is the only place I assume that you can jack in and have these kinds of virtual fantasies and stuff. But I think eventually when that technology comes to home, these places will cease to exist. So there's always some kind of centralized home for this technology that eventually gets wiped away when that technology is freely available.
I just found it interesting that they were talking about media being used to influence votes, which has been a major topic.
Yeah, that's another thing I didn't think about. Kind of ties into today, the zeitgeist.
And that's, been a major topic now for the past couple of elections. Just talking about how people can be so heavily influenced just by the algorithms on TikTok or X or Facebook or anything like that. So you have this, which is much more complex, but still the same idea. So maybe this movie was just that far ahead of its time.
Yeah, that's why people don't appreciate it.
It's not that the acting was wooden, the story was garbage.
There was nobody as wooden as the main actor.
Menno.
That's the most wooden character in the entire. Everybody's wooden.
Bruce Campbell was pretty good, I thought.
Bruce Campbell was good. Corbin Burnson was good.
Yeah, Corbin Burnson was a real slimy guy.
Everybody else was pretty wooden. So real quick, the end. Were they still pinning everything on Menno?
No, because his coworker had the disc.
But if you watch the news thing at the end, it was basically saying it was. I'm pretty sure it was basically saying that it was still all Menno.
Yeah, but I think it was just inferred that all that was going to be kind of wrapped up, and that the disc was going to provide all the evidence they needed, and they were able to get rid of the. Oh yeah, my favorite scene is when they. I think I wrote this in Matrix 2, is when they're getting ready to erase the data, and Menno says we have to find a way into their online security, the resorts, and his coworker says, "What about a worm?" And he says, "No, it's not. A worm isn't strong enough." But wait, what if we used a worm to get inside and then initiate a megavirus? And
didn't they re-download Bruce Campbell back into it?
So what they did was they had the disc with Bruce Campbell's memories on it, and the worm was a way to get Bruce Campbell into the system of the resort, and the animation for the eating of the data was a bunch of CGI worms that were eating the UI on screen, and that was symbolizing eating all the data.
So they did it before hackers did it.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. Another example of Hollywood hacking.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was probably my favorite part of the movie.
They did it too when they put that disc thing into the computer. It showed a weird little thing where it was already in the computer, but somehow it had to follow down some little trail into getting connected into another spot.
Yeah, I remember.
When everybody jacked in, it showed that too.
Wasn't the disc smoking when they first pulled it out after the brain transfer?
Yeah, there were some sparks and stuff, and it was smoking.
And everything was still usable?
Mm-hmm. Despite the magic smoke.
Right? I've never had anything still be usable after I let the magic smoke out.
That was interesting. So what do you... I'd say a thumbs up. I mean, it was
I cannot, in good conscience, recommend anybody watch this movie ever.
Why? It's not bad.
Not terrible.
It's not terrible, but it's not worth watching either. It's not bad enough that I would recommend it based on it being horrible, but it's not good enough that I would recommend anybody actually watch it.
Well, we're not recommending that somebody go out and watch it.
Yeah, just what we thought about it.
Right.
Would you say it was entertaining enough to get a thumbs up, or
I'm going to have to give it a neutral.
Okay, you get a half a star. I give it a full star. Honky gives it a star. What about you, Lugcast? Did you watch it?
want to go thumbs up. Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. Michael Dorn really disappointed me with his acting chops a little bit.
Yeah.
I was expecting a little bit more, but given the time period it was created in, I'm giving it a thumbs up.
And also, part of that thumbs up for me is for the cast too. I just liked kind of spotting all the actors that I recognized from.
It was the who's who of B actors.
Mm-hmm. Character actors and sci-fi from that era and fantasy and stuff like that. Yeah, I like that. So if you're into that, check it out. Can't say much about the story and stuff. So he already had an Alexa in his apartment. Menno did.
That I found interesting.
Yeah.
The voice interactions in 1996 when this movie was made, they were predicting the future with that one.
So what did he have? Turn the shower on. His food was to be 112 degrees, something like that.
Something like that.
It's still at a microwave. But...
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was interesting.